We are about to learn the story of a man who devotes everything to his slave girls. But first, we need to know about S-rank adventurers. These people are known to possess amazing strength, and they all had the ability to lead people and make the right kind of change to this fantasy world they live in. One man in particular is Egil Volts, who is probably the best of them all. Not only can he command men to follow in his path, he can also command cute girls to give in to their intrusive thoughts as and when he pleases. Now, we move to the town of Krishna where a slave auction is being held. A slave girl has just been sold to bidder number 56 for a whopping amount of 420,000 gold coins. The bidder goes to collect his slave girl, and everyone claps for him, but this is not exactly some kind of charity event. Now, we see a demon man asking his buddy what he thinks of these slave auctions. The buddy in question is our hero Volts, and he says that he doesn't want to be asked such questions. He strikes a proud pose while saying this, so the demon man asks him if he doesn't like the concept of slaves. Volts says yes because it is not a noble cause unless the master is helping the slave. He then scolds the demon man for bringing him here despite that fact. And we also learn that his name is Jessendorf, also known as Jess. Volts goes on to say the whole idea disgusts him because he can't bear to watch auctioneers selling lives as if they are just toys. Jess, however, tells our hero that even he needs slaves, especially if he considers the kind of work he does. Since he is an adventurer, he will need some girls to take care of the house while he's out solving quests. The talk of guests makes Jess realize that Volts has done something amazing not too long ago. We learn that our hero had taken up a quest that even made the guild members shake in their boots. As a matter of fact, the one who gives out quests even considered giving up on this quest till Volts came along. We can see that it involved taking on some kind of giant monster that looked like a demon. We are then taken to a short flashback to when our hero challenged the beast all by himself. The battle did not last too long though, because all that Volts needed to do was strike the monster with his sword once. As we see Volts ripping through the demonic beast with so much ease, Jess tells us that such an achievement is worthy of being S-class. However, the demon man's words have no effect on our hero because flattery will not get you anywhere with him. The point of the matter is that Volts does not enjoy the concept of people using other people as their tools. Of course, these are very noble words, but Jess is not one to back down so easily, so he tries to tap into our hero's intrusive thoughts. He tells him that it would be quite nice to have a cute girl who would listen to every word he says. It's almost like a dream come true, even for a man like Volts. As expected of our hero, he simply yawns and says that he's bored of this chat with Jess, so he wants to go back home. The demon man tells Volts not to be like that because things are going to get very exciting from this point forward. Our hero tells him once more that he is not interested, so Jess tries to mess around by asking him if he likes to play for the same team. Volts rubbishes those claims instantly and says that he is only interested in cute women, but not by purchasing them as his slave girls. As he says this, the slave traders announce that the final item will be the last lot from today. They state that this slave girl is a bit young at 20 years old, but her womanly charms are ripe for the taking. To go with these charms, her face is even cuter, so she will be an attractive buy. Everyone in the room gazes at this beauty as she walks into the room with her curvy body. Even Volts seems to be impressed by her looks as the slave traders state that she used to be an adventurer. On top of that, this cute girl is still untouched, so that makes our hero even more interested in her. It looks like even someone as noble as Volts has intrusive thoughts running through his brain. He starts to reconsider all his life's principes as this amazing girl makes a cute face and prepares for her body to be sold to a shady master. Everyone awaits the start of the bid because they really want to get their hands on this beauty. As expected, the bidding starts at 6,000 gold coins, and what follows is total chaos. All the shady men in the room can't control their excitement as they keep trying to outbid each other. The bids reach 10,000 gold coins in no time, and Jess comments that a person can buy a house with that much money. However, the real shocker is that a new bid of 10 million gold coins has not come from any of the shady men, but rather from Volts himself. This makes Jess speechless, and even the other people in the room are not able to digest the fact that such a massive bid has been made at an auction house. Of course, our hero always looks serious, so some of the bidders think that he is some kind of scary beast. Others say that the cute slave girl will surely break if he gets her to come with him, but the show must go on, so the bid is raised for Volts, who is bidder number 39. There aren't many people who have this kind of money, but one old man gathers all the courage in the world to bid 11 million gold coins. Volts raises his bid to 13 million gold coins in the blink of an eye, and this makes Jess wonder what's going on in his mind. As expected, this turns out to be the final bid because no one seems to have the wealth to counter our hero. With that, the slave girl is sold to Volts for 13 million gold coins, and this turns out to be the highest bid in the history of slave auctions. Now that the formalities are done with, Volts final has a chat with his new slave girl, who bows down to her new master and thanks him for bidding such a high amount. We learn that her name is Eleanor. also known as Elle, and it looks like she has given her share of the bidding amount to her new master. Volts is a bit puzzled by this and asks Elle if she is fine with her decision. The slave girl simply says that since she is Volts' slave, her gold automatically becomes his possession. However, our hero is not one to be fooled so easily, which is why he asks her why she signed a contract with the slave traders in the first place. After all, even if the contract gave her 20% of the bidding amount, she would not be able to use it if she gave it away to her master. As a matter of fact, we also learn that Elle had claimed to end it all if her bidder would back down from the bid amount. The slave girl laughs with a cute face and reveals that she had initially planned to run away with the money before her master could get his hands on her. However, she claims that she would have only done this if she didn't like her master. Volts, on the other hand, seems strong and handsome, so he looks like the perfect candidate for her. Our hero is a bit taken aback by the compliments, but he tells Elle that she doesn't need to flatter him. The slave girl says that she is not trying to flatter him at all because it's the truth. Volts is glad to have met Elle's expectations, but then Elle reveals that she would like to ask him for a favor. This piques our hero's interest, so he asks his slave girl what she wants from him. That's when he receives the shock of his life as Elle asks him to end her childhood friend for her. Our hero can't even understand what his slave girl is saying, because this sounds a bit too silly, but Elle doesn't look like she's messing around. Things have taken a rather surprising turn, so Volts asks his slave girl why she has such a request. That's when Elle reveals this friend of hers had tricked her and sold her to the slave traders, which was why a girl like her was seen in a place like this. Volts figures it's a simple case of revenge, so he asks Elle how the whole thing happened in the first place. The slave girl wants to tell her master the whole story of how she was tricked, but she wants to tell him her real name first. That's when we learn that Elle's family name is Cornelia, which means that she is the third princess of the kingdom of Cornelia. Naturally, it's a bit odd to see a princess being sold as a slave, so it's time for some added context. The root of this whole mess was the succession ceremony of the kingdom because it had to do with who would succeed the throne and rule over everyone. Since Elle has two older sisters, everyone was of the opinion that the husband of the first princess should become the new king. However, the current king, who is Elle's father, had said that he will only allow her husband to succeed the throne and no one else. Of course, the princess had said no to this and ran away from the scene. Since she did not want to take part in this succession, she decided to escape the castle. This eventually led to her becoming an adventurer, and she teamed up with her friends to enjoy a life she would have never been able to live if she remained a princess. Of course, being an adventurer comes with its own set of troubles, but these days were also filled with fruitful achievements, so Elle was happy with her decision to betray the throne. Sadly, all of this changed on the day of her birthday party when she was blindfolded by her friend Mussolina, also known as Lena. She had told Elle that she was taking her to a secret present, so the princess could not move from where she was seated. As expected, Elle trusted Lena to give her a nice gift, and she was eagerly awaiting what was going to be given to her. However, the present turned out to be a slave collar that was put on her by a slave trader. At first, Elle got excited thinking that it was some kind of special gift, but soon realized that she was betrayed not just by Lena, but also by her other friends Mordred and Kurd. Naturally, she wanted to know the meaning of this, but soon realized that her friends must have been bribed by her sisters in order to ensure she would never come back for the throne. The slave trader who caught her was more than happy with this deal because girls like Elle are hard to come by in his line of business. As she was being taken away, the princess slave shouted out to her friends for help, but it was of no use. As a matter of fact, Lena only smiled at her childhood friend as if this was some kind of sick entertainment. Now, we move back to the present where Elle has become a bit emotional, so she tells her master that this was the basic gist of things. Of course, Volts is appalled to hear such a disturbing story of betrayal, because he would have never imagined royal princesses to stoop so low that they would end up bribing the friends of their own sister. Selling Elle off as a slave was a horrible thing to do, and Volts will not stand for it. Now, Elle begs her master to help her get revenge because she has to teach her sisters and friends a lesson. After all, she can never forgive them for the crimes they've committed against her. She even becomes full of tears as she says this, because she has had to go through some horrible times to get to this point. It's a blessing that she's even alive today, but that was not without the fear of being ended or violated at the slave camp. Each and every day was a scary nightmare for Elle, until our hero came along and bid a ridiculous amount of money for her. It's hard to say no to such a cute face. So Volts hugs his slave girl and tells her that he will do what she wants him to do. He just asks her not to make such a sad face in front of him again. Elle asks him if he's sure about this, but doesn't know how to address him as she doesn't know his name. Volts introduces himself properly to his slave girl and continues to offer her comfort by hugging her. It was from this point forward that our hero had promised not to let Elle wear such a sad look on her face ever again. Now, we move to the night time where Elle has dressed into a nice slave outfit. She asks her master how she looks, but there is only one real answer to that. Volts tells her that she's looking very cute and curvy, but also wants to know how many times she's going to make him say such things. Elle says that her master has given his slave girl such nice clothes, so it's only normal for her to ask him again and again. She thanks Volts once again for his kindness, but our hero says that he likes to see her in such clothes, so the pleasure is his. Now that they are done with the cute talk, Volts gets down to the first line of business, which is to take off the slave collar from Elle's neck. He gives her a control device which is known for being able to activate and disable any items that relate to slavery. Elle is a bit surprised to see this, and she asks her master if he is not worried that she will run away if he takes off the collar. He simply says that he would always choose not to be suspicious of others, and instead focus on believing in them, even if they were to betray him later. He has a rather noble way of living his life, and this makes Elle place even more faith in her master. However, she also calls Volts a weird man and says that there's no need to remove her collar. Our is a bit surprised to hear this, so he asks Elle if this is fine for her as the slave collar can be a scary thing. The princess slave decides to act cute and she gets close to her master, after which she says that she fully trusts him. Elle is also ready to fulfill Volts' wishes, no matter how twisted they may be. Things become a bit spicy and our hero tries to keep his intrusive thoughts in check, so he tells Elle that she can go take a bath as she must be tired from such a busy day. He's ready to hear the rest of her story tomorrow, but the princess slave says that she can't take a bath before her master. This means that Volts will have to go in first, and he agrees to do so, but is also wary of what might happen. Now, our hero makes his way to the bathroom and he realizes that he's a bit nervous around his curvy slave girl. Of course, this might be due to the fact that he's never really spoken to women before, and now he's hit the jackpot with Elle. It only gets better for him as his slave girl takes off her attire and prepares to wash his back for him. Naturally, Volts has never done something like this his whole life, so he doesn't really know how to react to this. He tries to keep his intrusive thoughts in check once again and tells Elle that she doesn't need to wash his back as he can do it himself. However, the princess slave is not going to back down, especially after how nicely her master has treated her the whole day. Elle feels like she needs to do something to prove her value, so this is one way to show it. Of course, she also worries whether she isn't charming enough for Volts, but we all know that this is not the problem. Our hero tells Elle that she is a very charming woman, but this only makes her want his body more. She says all kinds of things to imply that she only wants to be with Volts. But our hero activates alpha male mode for a bit. He asks his slave girl if she really wants to love him all her life, and she says that she will be very happy to do so. On top of that, if her master were to love her back, then she would be absolutely delighted. These words can do all kinds of things to a man, so Volts tells Elle that she can't take back whatever she has said, even if she comes to regret it later. As of now, she can focus on washing his body, so the princess slave agrees to it. We can see that our hero has a strong build and a lot of scars on his body, so Elle gets excited upon seeing them. She comments on how strong and manly this is, so Volts asks her if wounds are really her thing. Elle comes close to his ears and whispers that she likes all of him, whether it's his wide chest or his thick arms. This kind of talking triggers Volts and his intrusive thoughts take over his mind once again. He says that Elle really knows the words to please a man, so he wonders if she really is as innocent as the slave trader had claimed her to be. This leads to a rather hilarious situation as Elle becomes a little more aggressive in bathing her master and she asks him if he thinks she is used to flirting with men. He says that isn't the case, but it looks like his slave girl is focusing too much on his wounded areas. Elle says that she will only talk to her master like this and no other man can enjoy her sweet words. Now, Volts takes a look at Elle's eyes and states that he's been captivated by them for a while. He can also feel her soft and comforting breath as her face is close to his. This makes our hero wonder if his slave girl is waiting for him to place his lips on hers. However, he is also scared to do it because he could be wrong. Although that doesn't seem likely in this case. Elle has had enough of teasing her master, so she asks him to be more aggressive with her. Her behavior stuns Volts because she said this just as he had started to hesitate. He is glad that she is not going to pull back, so he can go all in now. An engaging session follows, so Elle states that her master is very experienced, but he says that he has never been with a woman, so it comes as a huge shock to the princess slave. He apologizes if his skills are not going to be good enough, but Elle says that she's happy to be his first experience. She wants to make her master feel good, so she promises to service him in the best way possible. She takes a look at his elephant's trunk and comments that it's at least twice the size of the ones she's seen before. This makes Volts cautious because Elle is supposed to be innocent, but she tells him not to think too much of it. She proceeds to give our hero a taste of heaven on earth and he gets relieved soon enough. Now, Elle sits close to her master in the pool, but he asks her it's not needed for her to stick to him this way. However, the princess slave says that she wants to feel Volts closely and also wants his elephant's trunk to become ferocious again. If it were to happen, then she would happily repeat her services again. Elle asks if her lips were to her master's liking, and he says yes instantly, because he can't really complain. The princess slave is glad to hear this, so she tells Volts that they should take things to the bedroom now. This is where our hero will be able to show the true power of an S-rank adventurer to his princess slave. He activates alpha mode again and carries Elle to the bedroom, so she gets excited for what's to come next. Even Volts feels the same way. And that's obviously because he's going to have his first time with a princess girl, even though she's technically a slave that he had bought from the auction. He finds this rather strange because he is an S-rank adventurer after all. He has completed so many S-rank quests in this fantasy world, and they involve fighting dragons and all other kinds of legendary monsters. He's even beaten the mythical beasts of history with ease. But none of these tasks have gotten him as excited as he is right now to do shady things with Elle. As expected, he should be thinking like this because he's never done anything of the sort before in his life. Now, both our hero and his slave girl are in bed, but Elle has an odd look on her face. Volts asks her if all is well, and she says that she's just shocked to see how her master was able to carry her all the way from the bathroom to the bedroom. She gets very tingly and happy because of this, so our hero says they should pick things up from where they left off. In the middle of the violation, Volts says that Elle's body is very girly and curvy, but some parts are pretty firm, probably because she has been an adventurer before being sold as a slave. Elle asks her master if he's familiar with the sights of female bodies, so he awkwardly says no and goes on to ask for her adventurer rank. They put a pause on their shady acts, and then Elle looks for her guild card, which she had left somewhere in her towel. After a bit of looking around, she finds the guild card and we learn that she is rank C. Volts is quite impressed to see this because princess girls are not known to have such a rank. He goes on to ask Elle for her class, and she says it's Saint Force, which is actually a very helpful class. We learn that the people of Saint Force class have the ability to summon holy beasts to fight for them. These holy beasts have attacks that are extremely powerful, but at the same time, the one casting the spells needs to be careful about making the beasts attack in quick succession. After all, this kind of power takes a lot of energy and can drain the caster if done in haste. It is due to the high mana consumption that this kind of class is not very popular amongst most adventurers. Volts comments that Elle really picked out a unique class for herself, but she says that she couldn't help herself as the holy beasts were too cute to resist. Of course, Volts is taken aback to hear a cute girl feeling the same way about a holy beast, but that's just the kind of person Elle is. He thanks his slave girl for her insights, so she also asks him to show his guild card. He guides Elle to the card, and she is shocked to learn that her master is an S-rank adventurer. She can't believe this, especially since Volts is a solo hero, but he tells her that he's been told by many that he is very talented and powerful. However, this presents a different kind of problem to Elle because if her master helps her with the revenge plan, then his reputation as an S-rank hero may suffer due to it. As expected, Volts says that such things don't even matter to him because he can simply leave the kingdom even if he is marked as a criminal. Of course, there's also the fact that he fell in love with Elle from the moment he first saw her at the slave auction. It all makes sense now because spending 13 million gold coins on a slave girl is ridiculous. Anyway, our hero tells his princess slave that he can never say no to her, and it makes her fall in love with him as well. Now that all the chatting has been completed, it's time for the both of them to get down to business. Volts asks Elle if she's ready for this, and she says yes without any hesitation at all. With that, the both of them say I love you to each other and engage in unspeakable acts. In the process, our hero realizes that Elle is indeed as innocent as she had claimed to be, and she is glad that he now knows she wasn't lying to him. Volts is pleased by this because he knows that it must have been hard for Elle to keep her innocence in check, especially since she was with slave traders this whole time. She explains that the slave collar had prevented her from harming her master, but she could protect her own innocence by using other means such as threatening to end it all, which would mean the slave traders not having anyone to sell. Volts unleashes his S-rank elephant on Elle's twin peaks and curvy body, so an intense session follows which ends pleasantly for the both of them. After all is done, Elle says that her stomach feels warm, almost as if there's a baby inside her now. Volts says that if this is the case, then she will become a slave wife. Elle thinks it's a funny term, but she doesn't mind it at all if it means that she can be with her master for life. Our hero realizes that both he and the princess slave are covered in sweat, so they should go take another bath. Elle is ready for it, but she asks her lover boy to carry her in his arms to the bathroom. Volts jokes and comments that his slave likes to make a lot of demands, but Elle simply says that she can't walk properly after what he did to her. She asks Volts to take responsibility for her curvy body and the future it holds with him, so he instantly picks her up and asks her if she is going to be able to enjoy her life together with him. She says yes without a doubt, and the couple becomes even more romantic. Now, Volts carries Elle down to the bathroom, but he knows that her wounds from being betrayed might still be lingering in her mind. At the same time, Elle thinks of ways in which she can please her master even more. Our hero feels that he should find out more about Elle's revenge targets, and the princess slave feels that she needs to learn more ways to please a man. They both decide to head out to the town tomorrow as they are also burning with motivation. We move to the next day as Volts approaches Jess, who is eating some food. He says he has something that he wants to ask the demon man. But Jess is shocked to see Volts like this. After all, he is looking very refreshed and is glowing, unlike how he usually shows himself. The demon man is interested in learning more about Volts' demands, so he asks our hero what he needs to know. He says that he wants Jess to find 3 adventurers from the guild, and adds that they are all rank C. He also states their names as Kurd, Modred, and Lena, after which he specifies that they are 2 men and 1 woman. Jess is intrigued by the fact that an S-rank hero is looking for C-rank adventurers, so he takes a pause. Volts asks the demon man if there is a problem, and he says yes because his radar only involves high-rank adventurers. He doesn't usually look for information on lower ranks. And on top of that, he doesn't even know where the hangout spot is for these people. Despite these issues, Jess says that Volts have to wait for 1 week before he can come to him with results. Our hero is pleased by this answer because it's fast enough for him, since Jess doesn't need that much time for this request. Volts decides to give him one more task. This one is a bit more unorthodox as he asks the demon man to get him in touch with a slave trader, and that too, a person who deals in human slaves, both men and women. Of course, it's not normal to hear such a thing from Volts, so Jess takes a moment to digest what he has just heard. He puts 2 and 2 together, so he asks our hero if all of this is because of Elle, whom he had bought the other day in front of him. Volts has no shame in saying yes and reasons that she had asked him to do this for her as a favor. However, the main reason behind this is that our hero wants to do it out of his own free will. We learn that Elle still gets nightmares from her past as a slave girl, and Volts got to see it in the night when they were sleeping in the same bed. Our hero wants to free his princess slave from the nightmares of her past that still haunt her today. Jess is a bit cautious after hearing this, so he advises Volts not to trust slaves too much as they can be unreliable. He even tells our hero that he should not experience another betrayal, which means that something bad had happened to him before. This clearly affects the S-rank fighter, as he fumes over it and looks at Jess with a raging passion. He demands to know who told the demon man such a thing, but he simply answers that it was nothing more than a passing rumor. However, judging by the reaction Volts just gave, it looks like there's some truth to that rumor as well. Volts doesn't want to waste time on silly topics, so he tells Jess to zip it and only focus on the work he is giving him. Our hero orders the demon man to report any leads that he finds on an immediate basis, so he agrees to do so without any further comments. With that, Volts steps out of the inn and wonders how Elle must be doing over here. After all, slaves are not seen in the best light by the regular folks of this town. We now switch to the princess slave, who is in a library and going through some books. She seems to have found the book that she was searching for this whole time, and she takes a good look at it to confirm if it is what she wants. The name of the book suggests that it's about a noble lady who acts on her intrusive thoughts with a muscular night boy. On top of that, there are 4 volumes to this book, which means that it's in very high demand. It turns out that both volumes 3 and 4 are available in this library, so Elle figures that she should buy them now to make the most of the opportunity. She goes to the counter to pay for the books, but the man selling them notices how cute and curvy Elle is. He also has some muscles, so he asks the princess slave if she likes what she sees. Of course, his eyes look like they're filled with intrusive thoughts. So Elle decides to pay for the books as soon as she can in order to get out of the store. She tells the shady man that her master's muscles are much better than what he can hope to achieve, and then she leaves the store immediately. She feels violated just by the shady man's looks, but at least she was able to get her hands on these books. Now, Elle looks around to make sure no one is going to come here, and then she opens the book. We can see that these books are rather graphic in their descriptions of unspeakable things between the heroine Anna and her night boy, Hubert. Since Anna could not get enough of Hubert and his elephant, she would wait for everyone to fall asleep at night in the castle. She then heads to the room of her night boy out of her own will, and then she calls out to him. Hubert asks her if there's anything she needs, so she tells him it's time to work on their intrusive thoughts. What follows is a rather unique act, but it ends well for both Hubert and Anna, so Elle has what she needs. The princess slave shuts the book because she has the idea in her mind, especially because she can relate to Anna a lot. Not only are the both of them princesses, Anna did not like doing shady things with men at first, just like Elle. However, she finally tapped into her true feelings and slowly started to desire Hubert's body due to her own needs. Elle is also like this because she has a lot of desire for Volts and his elephant's trunk as well. After realizing how she can use her twin peaks in more ways than one, Elle figures that she now has a new move to try in the bedroom. However, she realizes that her master is very gentle and caring, so she needs to be more aggressive with him. She gets all kinds of twisted fantasies in her mind, because she starts to think about how she's Voltz's slave and can't defy him no matter how twisted his own intrusive thoughts might be. After all, her sole objective is to please him in every way possible. Such shady thoughts cause Elle to wonder how unbecoming she is, that too in public, so she tries to keep herself in check. Suddenly, she hears someone screaming at another person to give back his slave, so she decides to check it out. Elle goes towards the noise and it looks like the other person also does not wish to give over the slave as he believes she belongs to him. After getting closer, she notices that two men are fighting over a cute slave girl, and neither one is giving in as they both believe they found her first. One of the men happens to be the slave trader who had auctioned her off to her master, and the other one looks like a man from the noble family. The girl in the middle is clearly the slave, and she looks very scared, judging by the look on her face. It doesn't take long for the princess slave to realize that she knows who this girl is, especially after they notice each other. This new girl's name is Selena, and she calls out to Elle as she is a familiar face. The princess slave then tells us that Selena needs to be saved both in mind and in body. It's time for some context. So we are told that Selena and Elle were friends while they were slaves under the shady trader. They found comfort in each other and refused to give up hope as long as they had each other's backs. Seeing Elle makes Selena emotional, so she calls out to her friend, hoping that she will save her. However, the slave trader pulls her back via her slave collar and reminds her that she can't go away from her master as long as she has it on. Elle can't take this anymore, so she tells the slave trader to stop with his nonsense as she wishes to speak with Selena for a bit. Seeing the princess slave makes him recall that he had sold her the other day, so he says that he does not have any business with her anymore. However, Elle tells him that if he's going to behave this way, then he will have to deal with her master. The slave trader doesn't care because he has no idea who Voltz is, so Elle tells him that her master is an S-rank adventurer. Hearing this makes the slave trader panic, so he tries to talk his way out of it, but Elle is not going to let him off so easily. She warns him that if she reports this to her master, then the slave trader will not live for long. Of course, it's not like Elle is useless as a fighter, so she prepares to teach him a lesson with her own powers as well. The princess slave has no problem in taking matters into her own hand, so the slave trader figures he shouldn't take the risk. He allows Elle to have a word with Selena and tells her to be quick. The girls hug each other after such a long time, and Selena breaks down upon finally being with Elle again. The princess slave asks her if she's all right, but the only thing Selena can say is that she was very scared when she was all alone. Elle tells her not to worry because she will keep her safe now, but she can recall that Selena is supposed to be very brave and strong, so this is not like her. We are now taken to a flashback where we see Elle crying over something that had happened to her. Selena calms her down and also calls her a crybaby for making such a fuss. Elle says that she's scared of what might happen next to her, so Selena comes close to her in order to reassure the princess slave that all will be well. She says that she will protect Elle with all that she's got, and this is more than enough to give the princess slave the courage she needs. The smile on Selena's face alone was the source of hope for Elle, so she owes her for the support. We are back to the present now, and Elle states that she will be the one to protect Selena now. She asks her friend what happened, so Selena points to the noble man and reveals his name to be Earl. We learn that Selena was sold to him, and from the looks of it, Earl seems to have a kind and calm face. However, that is not the truth as he is a devil in disguise. As a matter of fact, he likes to hurt Selena even while smiling, which is rather twisted for any kind of man. He would not stop with his horrid acts, and it became too much for Selena to keep up with, so she tried to run away from the scene. However, this was of no use, as Earl was able to track her down with ease by making use of his noble status. Elle can't stand to hear this, so she asks Selena if Earl did anything else apart from harming her. Selena says no, which means that she is still an innocent maiden. This is good enough for Elle to make a stand, so she asks the slave trader if he will be in charge of Selena during the slave auction. He says yes, so she asks when the auction is happening. Keeping everything in mind, he says that it should be a week from now, so Elle tells him to promise her that he will not lay a finger on Selena till then. The slave trader tries to act shady by saying Elle will need to fill a contract for him to make that kind of promise. The princess slave is not here to play games, so she looks at the slave trader with serious eyes and orders him not to lay a finger on Selena till the date of the auction. The slave trader figures she is not messing around, so he says that he was just joking and will honor his promise to keep Selena out of harm's way. Elle reminds him that Selena is no longer a maiden when she sees her next. Then the agreement between her and the slave trader will be as good as broken. He agrees to her terms, but then asks if she intends to buy Selena as her own slave girl. That's when Elle states that she will most definitely return for her friend and purchase her at the auction. Come to think of it, Elle can end the slave trader now and take Selena with her, but she could risk her friend's life by doing so. The only way to get Selena fair and square is to purchase her at the auction, so Elle keeps her calm and sticks to her word. Of course, this doesn't go down well with the Earl, who is shocked to see a princess slave trying to buy his own slave from him. He asks her if she is trying to get in his way, but she is not afraid of him, so she says yes and declares that she will not allow him to do as he pleases with Selena. Earl tries to act scary by saying he is the one who will own Selena as he seems to have an interest in her. The slave girl is not too pleased to hear this, but Elle urges her to wait till the day of the auction because she will definitely come to save her. The slave trader is not too happy to see Elle like this, because she is acting like a princess even though she was sold off as a slave only one day ago. With that, everyone walks away from the scene and Elle makes a promise that she will most definitely save Selena. Now, we move forward to our hero's home where his princess slave has told him everything about Selena and what happened with the slave trader. Volts pays close attention to the whole story, but he sees Elle trying to be cute, so he asks her if she is doing this to gain his favor. The princess slave is shocked to hear his choice of words, because that's not what she's trying to do here. She bows down to her master and says that it was never her intention to ask for his favor because she only wants Volts to honor her selfish request. Luckily for her, Volts is not asking this in a bad way because he and Elle have already crossed the norms for what a normal relationship between a master and his slave usually are. Our hero asks his princess slave if she remembers this, and then he states that he loves her. He is actually surprised that she does not feel the same way about him, because this is not how lovers ask each other to help out with something. Hearing this brings tears to Elle's eyes and she realizes how foolish she has been all this time. Volts is not just her master now, but also her lover, so she should treat him like one. She blushes and smiles, after which she declares that she loves Volts very much and shares the same feelings for him. Now that this has been cleared, our hero holds Elle in his arms and tells her never to behave this way with him again. After all, he did say that he could never refuse her for anything, so she can come to him with any request that she has. Elle becomes very emotional and she begs Volts to save Selena because she is her true friend. Our hero says yes without even a moment of hesitation, and then we see the couple having a nice meal with each other. Volts asks Elle when the auction is going to happen, so she says a week from now, but also mentions that there is one more person who is going to bid on Selena. Volts wants to know who is competing against them, so Elle reveals it's Selena's former owner, Earl. Our hero realizes that this might be tough because a man like Earl will have access to earnings from the royal family. Elle gets worried and asks her master if this is going to be a problem, but he asks her not to make such a face as all will be fine. However, in his mind, he thinks of a way to get Selena because he did just spend 13 million gold coins on Elle. At the moment he has around 4 million gold coins in his account, but that is by no means a small amount. Even so, Volts knows that he should not take the risk, so he thanks Elle for the meal and suggests that they should go out on a quest once she's done eating. The princess slave is a bit confused at first, but then Volts explains to her that they are going to rack up a fortune by completing quests until the day of the auction. Once that is done, they can go save Selena, which gives hope to Elle. She smiles and blushes yet again, after which she agrees to help her master on this mission. To kick things off, Volts takes on all kinds of quests, and the first series that he has picked is rather intense. He has to slay 5 goblins, hunt a ghoul, capture a morphal beast, slay 5 drake beasts, and finally hunt a red dragon as well. Basically, these are 5 conditions merged into one quest, but that means that the bounty should also be as high. Volts takes Elle with him on his horse and realizes that one of the tasks isn't a rank mission, but that should be fine because they have a week to get the job done. Elle is also confident that they can complete these tasks and use the money to save Selena. The couple gets everything in place from the guild, and then they set out on the horse, but not before the reception boy Havalik gives something to Elle. Our hero is curious to know what it was, so he asks his princess slave about it. That's when we go on a bright flashback to when Havalik gave Elle a small bag filled with a mystery item. The reception boy whispers to Elle that if she uses this item, then she will be raring to go even after 7 days of quests. She blushes and accepts the item, after which she gets even more excited for the missions that they have ahead of them. Of course, the item in the bag could be used for a lot of things, but the princess slave tells her master that the item is just a set of provisions that will help increase her stamina. Elle continues to say that Havalik is a good boy and Volts should continue working with him. Our hero has no issues with that, because he has known the reception boy ever since he was just a beginner as an adventurer. Elle's twin peaks start talking to Volts, so he asks her if she wishes to go on a quest in the dress she is wearing now. As expected, he doesn't want his intrusive thoughts getting in the way of his mission, but Elle maintains that she will keep this dress on. After all, she is a Saint Force class adventurer, so she will always have her master's back. On top of that, the dress is very special to her because it was gifted to her by Volts as an act of kindness. The princess slave realizes why Volts is asking her this question, so she asks him if he is too distracted by the way her curvy body is seen in these clothes. She wonders if her master will be able to focus on the quest if he only keeps looking at her, so Volts tries to act cool by saying that is not the case. Our hero can lie, but his elephant's trunk only speaks the truth, so it rises to tell Elle how Volts is feeling right now. She asks him if he is still going to deny his intrusive thoughts. So he has no other option but to tell the truth. All of this is clearly Elle's fault, so she decides to take responsibility for it and calm down her master's trunk. This is a risky thing to do, but Elle gets to work and gives Volts some heaven on earth in the middle of the woods. After refreshing herself with some fluids, the princess slave says that her master's trunk has a thick and manly smell. This means that she can only expect great things from Volts tonight, but he doesn't understand what she's trying to say. After a while, he figures out that Elle wants to do unspeakable things with him tonight. But before he can clarify this, the lovers hear some noises coming from a distance. They take a look at some smoke coming out of the woods, and Elle asks what could be the scene over there. Volts says that it's most likely a group of adventurers fighting some kind of beast or other monster. The noises grow louder, and then we see that the fighters are actually a couple of cute girls named Luna and Sana. They seem to be running away from something, as Sana tells Luna that they need to lure it out and try attacking it again. Luna is fine with that, so the girls begin their mission and step out of the bushes to lead the monster towards them. This beast turns out to be a giant cyclops monster, as can be seen by the way it towers over the trees. Luna and Sana keep an eye on it as they try to lure it out into an open space. Luna seems to be scared of the beast, but Sana looks like the braver of the two. She notices our hero with his princess slave, so she worries that another set of adventurers may end up stealing her bounty. Sana is not going to give up her game so easily, so she prepares to show the giant monster what she's made of. She summons the light element within her and calls upon the power of the angels to unleash a Nova Blast on the Cyclops monster. It's a rather deadly blow, and she even lands a direct hit, so Sana feels like she has defeated the beast and can claim her bounty. However, the smile on her face suddenly turns upside down as there isn't even a single scratch on the monster. She doesn't know what to do now, so Luna decides to step in with her own skills. She takes her bow and arrow, after which she strikes a pose and calls upon the powers of heaven. Luna then hopes for a direct hit and launches the heavenly rain attack on the overpowered beast. The shower of arrows lands on the Cyclops monster, but even that has no effect on it. Now, Volts finally gets to see what's going on, and even he comments that such moves are not going to work on this monster because it is a glacent. Elle also has a look of concern on her face as the Cyclops monster launches its own attack on the girls. Luna and Sana run for their lives because they don't have any other tricks up their sleeve. They can't really avoid the beast for long due to its massive size, so the punches being landed by the glacent start to reach them soon enough. Just when it looks like Luna and Sana are going to be smacked, Volt steps in like a true hero and rescues the cute girls from certain doom. He and his horse manage to make it just in the nick of time, and he asks the girls if they're okay, but we can see that he's grabbing Luna where she doesn't need to be grabbed. On top of that, Sana tells him not to try and steal their game even though they clearly don't stand a chance against the glacent. Our hero comments that Sana has a loud mouth on her, but Luna asks him not to grab her twin peaks with such passion. Sana calls out Volts for being a creep, but he says he's not really doing this on purpose. Meanwhile, Elle decides to take on the Cyclops monster, so she stands in close range and begins chanting a spell. She summons an army of Fenrir wolves, after which she commands them to attack the glacent with all they've got. The intention is also to lure the monster away from Luna and Sana, so the white Fenrir wolves circle around the giant beast to distract it. However, the problem is that Elle uses up too much of her mana and this process falls to the ground. She laments that it's been a while since she's used her powers, so she's forgotten how much energy it sucks out of her even to summon the Fenrir wolves. The beast closes in on Elle and things aren't looking too good for her, so Volts calls out to her and even she calls out his name. Our hero charges at the beast, but he realizes that he won't make it in time to save his princess slave, so he has to stop the glacent in its tracks. On that note, he summons his endless sword attack and stabs the giant Cyclops in its legs by launching swords from under the ground. The beast is now trapped and defeated, thanks to the endless blades that have come from soil, and Elle is pleased to see this. She realizes how powerful her master really is, and then Volts comes to her to ask if she is alright. This goes on to show that our hero truly is an S-rank sword genesis. Now that the danger is over, we learn that Luna and Sana are twins who always stay with each other, no matter what. Elle is also feeling much better after regaining some of her mana, so she thanks Volts for his services. She also comments that her master has an amazing move in the sword attack he just used. He reveals that it's actually called Infinite Sword Dance, which uses tons of swords that have been stored in another dimension. The fact that he can make these swords appear from wherever he wants goes on to show that he has mastered sword genesis. This is an ability that can only be used by those who have attained the highest rank in sword skills, so it looks like Volts has a diverse range of powers. Now, our hero turns to the cute twins and asks them for their adventurer ranks because they are clearly not good enough to take down a Gleason. The girls are a bit shy and scared after seeing his S-rank skills, but Volts gets scary because he wants to know why they're not giving him an answer. Luna and Sana hug each other out of fear, so Elle tells her master that he should not scare them like this. Volts realizes what he's doing, so he says that was not his intention. The princess slave goes to Sana and gives her a smile, after which she explains that Volts may look scary, but he's actually a very kind man. Sana doesn't want to say it, but she eventually reveals that her rank is E, which is the lowest rank possible. Volts calls this out and tells the cute twins that they were being very reckless in trying to take on the Gleason. They know this, but they figured that if they could beat the monster, then they could prove themselves. After all, they want to get strong and they look very determined as well, so Volts is impressed by their passion. However, he states that it is this very same passion that could bring about their downfall, so Elle asks him to be more polite. Our hero figures he should help out the cute twins, so he asks if they want him to show them how to fight. They make some odd faces, so he asks why they're giving him such looks. After all, it would be the best thing for these girls to learn from a skilled fighter like Volts. But then Sana and Luna get into a discussion with each other. Sana doesn't like the look of our hero, and she tells Luna that it's not going to be of any use as he might just take all their money after teaching them some useless tricks. Luna comments that they don't have any money to pay in the first place, so Sana tells her that Volts will sell them into slavery if they don't pay him. This makes Luna scared in a funny way, but then Elle shows up and tells the girls that Volts would never do such a thing. Sana wants to know what makes her so confident in this. So Elle explains that Volts is not the type of man to ask for money. She then goes on to take off her scarf and reveal her slave collar, which shocks the cute twins. They can't believe that a girl like Elle is actually a slave, but she says that her master has always treated her as an equal. He has never asked for a price whenever Elle has come to him with any requests. So she asks the cute twins if they still have some kind of issue with her master. Luna and Sana look at each other for a second and then they rush past Elle towards Volts. They both bow down to our hero and ask him for his help. Volts is unable to believe this sudden change in attitude, so he asks Elle how she was able to pull it off. The princess slave simply smiles and says that it's in her nature to do so. Now, the team sets up a camp and enjoys a meal with each other where some tasty meat is being roasted. Sana is overjoyed to eat such good food and she declares that she's been starving for so long. Luna agrees that the food is tasty, but she also asks her sister to behave herself. Volts has no problem with this, and he can see how alike the cute twins are. We learn that Sana is a priest girl and Luna is a mana archer girl who blushes way too easily. Volts tells the cute twins that he'll teach them how to fight while on his quest, so he asks them to join him and Elle. He also asks the girls to take their share of the bounty for beating the Gleason, but they say it's fine because they've already had such a nice meal. After all, they only want to get stronger, so they don't need money or rewards right now. Sana takes another helping of meat, so Luna tells her that she's eating way too much for her own good. However, Volts tells them to help themselves to as much food as they want. Now, it's time for bed, and we can see both Luna and Sana sleeping together in a cute pose. Elle takes a sneak peek and comments that they look very sweet in this sensitive position, and then she goes back to her master. Of course, Volts knows that the cute twins are probably sleeping so well because they had deprived themselves of food and sleep all this time in order to get stronger. That's a rather odd reason, so Elle wonders what could have made Sana and Luna resort to such methods. Our hero says that it can only be something like a purpose or an objective that requires the twin sisters to be strong. The princess slave states that if this is the case, then both Luna and Sana are a lot more mature than she is. The reason behind this is that at least Elle has an S-rank hero like Volts who is there to keep her safe. The cute twins only have each other to look out for, so they're fighting an even tougher battle. However, Volts tells her that he'd much rather prefer if the girls were like Elle and asked for help rather than trying to do everything by themselves. After all, he has the power to get things done for them, so they should allow him to help with their mission. However, if they don't even ask him for his strength, then there's nothing that he can do. Elle notices that her master feels bad for the cute twins, so she goes up to him and hugs him from behind. The princess slave says that she wants to walk the same path as our hero, even though he doubts his own decisions from time to time. Of course, getting so close to Volts can only lead to his intrusive thoughts taking over, so he looks at Elle with a burning desire, as does she. They are about to lock lips and get down to business, but then Volts stops Elle in her tracks, which confuses her. She wants to know why her master is not unleashing the beast within, so he explains that there are two girls who are asleep right next to them, so it might not be the best idea to do unspeakable things to each other right now. The princess slave is not too happy to hear this, because she wants to use the skills that she learned in the shady books earlier. However, she has to obey her master, so she says she will do as he says and will not demand for anything by herself. However, if Volts decides to change his mind, then she will be more than happy to do what is needed to be done. Our hero tells his princess slave that he will not push her to do anything she doesn't want to, and suggests that they should go to bed now. The couple gets ready to get some sleep, but it looks like Volts is having some issues. Elle asks him if he's alright, but he keeps saying that it's very hot for him in this tent. The princess slave takes a look at him and can see that he's sweating a lot, so she says that she should wipe the sweat away with her curvy body. Of course, she positions herself in a way that her twin peaks are right in front of her master's face, and this leads his elephant's trunk to rise with passion. It doesn't take long for Volts to let his intrusive thoughts take over, and then he grabs his slave girl to dominate her. Elle asks her master if he has decided to change his mind after what he had just said a few minutes ago, and the look on his face says it all. Volts only has one thing in his mind now, and he will do whatever it takes to get it. Elle blushes and smiles at the same time because her master looks like a hungry beast who is aiming at his prey. We now learn that the princess slave had put something in our hero's coffee, which is presumably the item she had taken from the reception boy earlier. It clearly seems to have done the trick, as Volts wants to violate Elle without any mercy. He tells her that they can't make any sound at all, but she says that she can't make that promise if he unleashes the beast upon her. What follows is an intense session that can't be put into words, but it looks like these acts have woken up Sana from the next tent. She peeks in on our hero doing unspeakable things to his princess slave and wonders what these acts are called. She's surprised that they're so loud even when she and Luna are right next to them, and she also wonders if Volts' trunk can fit inside Elle's abyss. She can't help but continue to watch them, and this causes her own intrusive thoughts to take over her mind. Now, we move to the next morning and we can see that Sana has not slept very well due to her constant yawning. Luna asks her if she is having any trouble sleeping, so she says that it's something like that because she can't tell her sister the truth that she was peeking at Volts and Elle going at it. This actually goes on for 2 nights in a row, so Sana gets a very detailed show on both occasions. Anyway, now is not the time for her to be thinking about such things, so she joins our hero on his quest to find a red dragon's lair. After some searching, the team finally reaches their target spot, and Volts is happy to finally find what he has been looking for. All the other quests have been completed, so this is the final mission that's needed to be completed. However, he needs to keep in mind that the red dragon is final boss material, so he is top danger. This is not going to be like the easy quests he's been doing with the girls, because you can't afford to mess up against such a beast. If that happens, then you risk losing your life without much of a fight. Of course, this is not what Luna and Sana want to hear, so they ask our hero not to scare them with his serious words. Volts tells them to simply keep all their training in mind because that it helped them come out on top against the monsters in the previous quests. As a matter of fact, he even tells the cute twins that they have done well so far as per their training. This gives them hope, so they become happy and rejoice upon hearing Volts' comment. However, before they can celebrate their achievement any further, the team can hear something nasty walking nearby. Elle wonders what it could be, but Volts tells all the girls to be quiet for now. They take a closer look and find not one, but 3 drake dragons right in front of them. The good thing is that the dragons have not noticed the team, so they have the upper hand. Now, Volts assembles his team and gets them ready for the task ahead of them, which is to take care of these drake dragons. He says that they will make the first move, and he encourages the cute twins to go out there and do their thing. He tells them to believe in themselves and promises to protect them if things don't go as planned. Luna and Sana are pumped to try out their new skills, and even Elle wants in on the action, so she kicks things off by chanting a spell and summoning an aqua dragon to take on the drake dragons. This aqua dragon unleashes its powers with a water blast attack that lands a direct hit on one of the dragons. The other beasts notice what's happening and are a bit confused by the attack, so Luna decides to make the most of this chance and charge at the dragons along with Sana. The twins unleash their powers as well, with Sana launching an Angel Nova attack and Luna firing her one-hit arrows on the dragons. Both the girls land direct hits on their targets, and the drake dragons fall to the ground. It doesn't take long before the 3 girls take down the 3 dragons and wrap things up with ease. Volts watches the fight and is impressed with the progress they have made till now. Sana comments that this was a piece of cake for her, and Elle tells the cute twins that they did a great job. Luna says that this was all because of the princess slave's water dragon and also her advice. Even Volts says that the girls should cut out the tongues from the drake dragons to show proof of the quest being completed. Sana is not too pleased to hear this, and she makes a face because she thinks it's disgusting. The priest girl can't believe that such things are considered to be luxury items in this fantasy world. But that's just how things are. Of course, our hero is not too pleased to hear her complaints because he does not expect her to do so well against a red dragon if she uses the same attitude. Sana takes back her words and says that it's all good from her side, because she doesn't want to upset Volts. The job still isn't done, because our hero wants to launch a surprise attack on the red dragon, who is the final boss of this tunnel. He tells the girls once again that it will only take a single blow from a red dragon to end their lives in an instant. It doesn't take too long for the team to come across the beast, and Volts points out to it almost instantly. Sana and Luna are scared to see it, so Elle holds them close for protection. What they see in front of them is an overpowered dragon that makes the Drake dragons look like little babies. The dragon is fast asleep, so Volts wants to make use of this advantage to launch a surprise attack on it. Of course, Sana and Luna still can't get over the fact that beasts can be as big as this one, because even the Cyclops monster from before can't measure up to the dragon. Of course, Volts has dealt with many dragons before, so he tells the cute twins that while these beasts might look scary, there is a very simple way to attack them. The only thing that they should watch out for is the fire blaze attack that can burn them to a crisp. Sana is actually excited to hear this, because she thinks that dragons breathing fire is really cool. However, Volts tells her that she can become ashes if she doesn't take care over here, and this changes the look on her face. He tells Elle and the cute twins that a dragon will always raise its head before launching a fire attack, so they should watch out for this movement in order to be prepared to dodge it. Now, Volts mentions his plan of attack, which is to go for the limbs first, so that he can lure the beast towards him. Suddenly, the dragon wakes up and has a dangerous look in its eyes, so it gets up and prepares to fight everyone in front of him. The beast is massive, so Volts figures that he should charge at it if he is to keep the girls safe. The dragon launches its claws at Volts, but he's able to counter it with his sword. His strength is amazing, and he's happy to now make the dragon come after him rather than the girls. Sana decides to offer some support by summoning her light element and unleashing her Angel Nova attack on the beast. However, this does no damage at all to the beast, who continues to launch his claws at our hero. Volts is able to fend him off for now, but the dragon is becoming restless, so he might need some supporting magic. He tells Sana to chant this magic, but she is a bit unsure of that order. This is not the time to doubt someone like Volts. So he tells the priest girl that assessing the situation with accuracy is a key factor when it comes to winning any battles. He continues to hold off the dragon, so Sana realizes that she should do as she's told. However, before anything else can happen, the dragon raises its head, which means that it's about to unleash the fire blaze attack. Just like that, the beast breathes a massive amount of fire and targets everyone in the dungeon to land a direct hit. Volts has to spring into action, so he grabs Sana and takes her away from the line of fire, and even Elle does the same to keep Luna safe. The damage caused by this fire blaze attack is outstanding as it burns through everything in its path. The dragon strikes a pose and roars like a demon, which means that it's not going to stop with its fire blaze attacks. Things are not looking good for the team, and the girls have worried looks on their faces, so Volts has no other option but to use his trump card. He holds Sana close and then unleashes his endless sword attack. The blades attack the dragon from the ground and cause a good amount of damage to its body. But the sword's holding it down. The beast is unable to move. Volts wants to see what the girls can do, so he tells Luna and Sana to attack the dragon now that it can't hurt them anymore. Elle also decides to step into the game and she unleashes her Aqua Dragon once more. Luna takes out her one-hit arrow and launches it onto the beast right after the water blast attack. Both the princess slave and archer girl land direct hits on the dragon, but Sana is not able to land an Angel Nova attack. Of course, this is not enough to take down the beast, so it raises its head for another fire blast. This time, the girls are ready for it, so they remain steady till the dragon unleashes its flames. They manage to remain alive, but the flames start to take over the dungeon as the damage is too much. The girls know that they can dodge the attacks if they just pay enough attention to the dragon, but the problem is that their mana points are being drained this way. At the current rate, they might even run out of MP before they defeat the dragon. In the middle of this, Sana says that even she wants to fight, but her confidence is low because she was not able to hurt the dragon even with her best move. Volts notices this, so he holds the priest girl's hands and tells her to chant the most powerful holy magic spell she knows. This is a bit too confusing for her, but our hero says that she needs to stop with all her sad feelings. He wants Sana to gain confidence, so he tells her that today she is going to take down a red dragon. This gives her some hope, but the problem is that she won't be able to chant her most powerful spell with the amount of mana she has right now. Sana is not sure if she can unleash the finisher move because she would love to take down this dragon even as Elle and Luna try their best to take it down. Luckily, our hero tells the priest girl that he'll share some of his mana with her to allow her to unleash the spell. Sana is shocked to hear this, but Volts gives her his power so that she can do this for herself. She can feel our hero's warmth flowing into her, but this is not the time for intrusive thoughts to take over, as she tries to ward off her shady intentions. The red dragon prepares for another fire blast since that's the only thing it can do with the swords holding it down. Elle and Luna worry because this time, they have nowhere to hide from the damage. It's at this very moment that Sana uses our hero's powers to start chanting her ultimate spell, and she summons the Angel of Judgment to unleash her attack. A massive surge of energy takes over her body, and she prepares to launch her finisher move with Volts guiding her from behind. He urges the priest girl to give it her all. And then Sana fires her Holy Judgment spell on the dragon. The ultimate angel drops down from the heavens, which shocks the dragon, and then he decimates the beast with a beam of unlimited energy. The light is blinding, and it manages to defeat the red dragon with full force. The beast falls to the ground right in front of Elle and Luna, and they are amazed to see that Sana was able to pull this off. As expected, the priest girl almost faints, so Volts has to hold on to her and ask if she's all right. It turns out that it was Sana's first time using a spell of such a high scale, which is why she's not got much mana left inside her. Our hero comforts her by saying that he might have given her his mana, but it was Sana's skills that helped her pull off the ultimate finisher move. Sana is barely able to hold on to her own breath, but she is glad to hear that her own abilities helped her take down an overpowered dragon. Elle and Luna rush to Sana to see if she's fine. And Volts tells the girls that she's going to be okay, it's just that she has used up too much mana, so she needs to rest for a bit. As a matter of fact, even our hero feels a bit tired after giving Sana his powers, which means that it really takes a lot to summon the Angel of Judgment, since he needs to take care of the priest girl. Volts asks Luna and Elle to collect the scales of the red dragon, so they get to work. The slave princess tells her master that he doesn't need to worry about anything now, so he can rest and leave the rest up to her. As Elle and Luna go to the fallen dragon, Volts picks up Sana in his arms and comments that even though she likes to act all tough and feisty from the outside, her sleeping face is very cute and adorable. Now, the team moves out of the dungeon and back into the camp tents to recover from the massive strain of the quests they just completed. Volts says that he'll watch over Sana, so Elle and Luna can go take a bath with each other. The moment they leave the scene, Sana wakes up and greets Volts with respect. Our hero comments that the priest girl should go and join the others in the bath, but she says that she wants to talk to him about something private, which was why she was only pretending to be asleep. Sana now asks Volts if she and Luna can grow even stronger than they are now if they were to continue with their training. Our hero tells her that as long as she keeps up the effort and doesn't give in to fatigue, then she and her sister can become much stronger than they are right now. However, the priest girl needs to know that there is an upper limit to her abilities, and the same logic applies to Luna as well. He becomes a bit curious, so he asks Sana if she ever plans to switch classes, but she says no without any hesitation. As a matter of fact, she is so sure of this that she says neither she nor Sana will ever change their classes even time were to come to an end. Volts can see the passion in her eyes, so he decides not to pry much further into the reasons behind this. His only request to Sana and Luna is that they should not push themselves to the point where they end up hurting themselves. The priest girl agrees to our hero's terms, but she has one more question that she wishes to ask him. Sana bends down and assumes a spicy pose, after which she asks Volts about his relationship with Elle. Our hero is surprised by the sudden curiosity. That too from a priest girl, so he asks her why she wants to know this. Sana wants an answer first, so he says that he and his princess slave are like lovers at this point. He blushes as he says this, which amuses Sana, but now she knows why they were doing lewd things even with the cute twins sleeping right next to them. Of course, this shocks Volts, because he did not think that Sana would watch such unspeakable acts in front of her. The priest girl is glad to have seen these things because she has intrusive thoughts of her own, but she is confused about the dynamic between Volts and Elle. If she is the princess slave, then why is she always the one in charge when they do shady things to each other? This doesn't rub Volts the right way, so he maintains that he is the one in control of their relationship and Sana is simply reading it wrong. As expected, the priest girl is disappointed to hear this, so she tries to explain that Elle is the one who is getting her master to do what she wants him to do. Sana further states that Volts is not the kind of man who would like to be led by his slave girls. As a matter of fact, he might be kind, but he is a beast deep down inside his heart. He wants to unleash all his passion on Elle, but he worries that she might not like it and get hurt in the process. Volts has nothing to say to this, but his silence is golden because Sana has figured that he does like to be a beast in the bedroom. Now, the priest girl comes up with an idea, and she says that she will teach Volts how an S&M relationship works. She is willing to do this because even our hero was kind enough to teach her and Luna how to fight. Now, she goes on to explain the whole process to our hero, and then she tells him to try it out on his princess slave the next time they get down and dirty. Her words make sense to Volts, but he wants to know how the priest girl has come across such shady information. She goes on to say that she read about it in some of her favorite books, which makes sense, because even Elle was doing that back in the city. Volts is shocked to learn that such things can be found in the books of this fantasy world, because Earth is known for having tools like these. Now that she's done with her lesson, Sana tells our hero that he can consider this to be a part of paying off a little bit of the massive debt that the cute twins owe him. The priest girl says that she will also go for a bath now, and then she takes a towel for herself. Before she leaves the tent, she asks Volts one more question. Basically, she wants to know that if in the future she and Luna come across a problem that they can't solve, even after using all the tricks they have up their sleeves, then will Volts be willing to help them out? He says yes without even the slightest bit of hesitation. And this pleases Sana, although she prays that such a day should never come to her. She says goodbye to our hero and heads off towards the bath, and even Volts waves his hand as a show of friendship. Luna and Sana get done with everything and they set off on their own journey. And even though Volts was hoping to run into them at some point in the future, that didn't happen to be the case as they were never sighted again since that day. After the cute twins leave, it's up to both Volts and Elle to finish off a few more quests to gain extra cash. Of course, this doesn't take much of an effort because our hero was capable of taking down the red dragon all by himself. Once they get done with everything, the couple heads back home with the bounty they have earned so far. Volts and Elle sit down with each other and calculate the total cash that they have made. It's a total of 850,000 gold coins, which is a lot of money. If Volts puts this together with the money he already has in his account, then he has 5 million gold coins. He tells his princess slave that 5 million is the highest bid that he can place. So it should be good enough to get Selena at the slave auction. Now that everything is in place, our hero and Elle decide to head towards the auction. Now, we move to the city where tons of men have gathered to buy cute girls as slaves. Volts and Elle are also here, as is Earl, so the princess slave points out to him so that her master can know who Selena's former owner is. This is when Volts realizes that Earl is actually Count Sebastian, which means that there is a lot of hostility in the air. Of course, Earl is not the only familiar face over here, as a couple more men come towards our hero to greet him. They turn out to be Jess and Havalik, so Volts figures they couldn't help themselves to a show that most men would not want to miss. Jess says that even though he is interested in slave girls, the real reason he's here is because he has intel on the 3 people that Volts had asked him to do his research on. Our hero is pleased to hear this, so he tells the demon boy that they will talk about it once this auction is done. The reception boy asks Volts if he is here to buy another slave, and he says yes, but that's not all. Our hero openly states that if he is not able to get Selena the right way, then he will take her by force if push comes to shove. Jess tells him it's not as easy as it might sound. And Elle backs up the demon boy by saying Volts will be expelled from the city if he were to try such a thing. Our hero doesn't care for these basic rules, but Havalik tells him that he won't be allowed to enter any city that has slave auctions if he gets caught doing something shady over here. Suddenly, the auction begins, so the reception boy shifts his attention to the show. We keep seeing slave girls coming and going with all the men bidding for them like hungry animals. This is a bit too much for Elle to watch, so Volts asks her if she would like to go outside till the auction is over. After all, she does have some painful memories associated with this place, but the princess slave says that she will stay here right till the end because she owes that much to Selena. The slave trader now moves on to the next girl, and Elle points out to her master that she is none other than Selena. As expected, her opening price is 300,000 gold coins, and the opening bids start to flow in. Of course, Earl doesn't want to waste any time, so he opens with a bid of 1 million gold coins. Luckily, Volts is ready to counter him, so he raises his bid to 1.5 million gold coins. This shocks everyone in the room, and the bids continue to come in, so Selena figures that the man sitting next to Elle must be her master. Earl is not going to back off so easily, so he raises the bid to 3 million gold coins. Volts has reserved cash, so he lets the bids cross 4 million gold coins. The situation becomes intense, as Earl bids 4.5 million gold coins, and now Volts begins to sweat. After all, he doesn't really have much left in the bank, so he hopes this is the last bid from his opponent. He raises a bid for 5 million gold coins, and prays that Earl does not compete against him anymore. However, the evil noble raises a bid for 6 million gold coins without any hesitation. And for the first time in the story, we see our hero in a spot of bother. This shocks everyone in the room, as even Selena feels her hope slipping away as Volts remains silent when the auctioneers ask for another bid. Elle looks towards her master, but he says he doesn't have any money left in the bank. The princess slave begins to cry and asks Selena to forgive her, but it's our hero who feels the worst. After all, he was the one who had promised Elle that he would never bring tears to her pretty face again. Volts figures that he has no other method left but to take Selena from Earl by using force. He prepares his plan of action, but then he hears a voice bidding 6.5 million gold coins for Selena. To his shock and surprise, the man with the bid is none other than Jess, who looks very serious about his offer. Our hero wonders if the demon boy is having his own intrusive thoughts take over, so he asks him why he's doing this. Jess simply tells Volts that he's helping him win the bid for Selena. If he can gather all his reserves, Then he alone can bid up to 10 million gold coins. Earl is not pleased with the way things are going, so he offers a bid of 7 million gold coins. Jess counters it right away and tells Volts to consider this as an investment from him. Our hero doesn't get what this means, so the demon boy explains that he wants Volts to help him out with some work of his. Of course, he wants to pay a fair price for this work, so he decides to help out with the bid. Also, it would be a huge problem for Jess if Volts gets expelled from the city for using force. Havalik also decides to join in on the action, and he says he can add another 2 million gold coins if push comes to shove. Volts doesn't know how to repay this kindness, but he is grateful to have such friends in his life, so he thanks them for their support. The bidding war is not over though, as the price has reached 9.5 million gold coins. Earl is yet to give up, so our hero and his team decide to test his funds and his patience. Havalik takes his excitement a bit too far and dares Earl to keep pushing the bid as he wants to see if the evil noble can go till 20 million gold coins. This would be a bit too much even if Jess and Volts combine their funds, so they tell him to calm down. Earl doesn't have any money left, so he pushes the bid to 10 million gold coins and hopes this will be good enough. However, the reception boy raises a bid of 12 million gold coins with the look of victory on his face. Earl is shocked and he looks at his butler to see if he can go more, but that's enough from him, so the auctioneer calls out to anyone else who would like to continue with the bid. No one dares to put in such a high amount, so Selena is officially sold to Volts and his team. Everyone rejoices upon this news and Elle hugs her master for helping her out with her request. Now that all of the bidding is completed, Selena and Elle hug each other out of joy. Both the slave girls are very emotional and Elle says sorry to her friend for keeping her waiting. Selena thanks the princess slave for all that she's done, but Elle says that she didn't really do much. This was possible only because of her master. And the last moment assists from Jess and Havalik. The demon boy mocks the reception boy and tells him there was no way he was going to hit 20 million, so he should not have made such a challenge. It's a nice moment, but then Selena asks Elle to run away with her together, which shocks the princess slave, because it doesn't make any sense. Selena explains that while she's very happy and grateful to Elle for all that she's done, the problem is that she is too scared of the men in this world. This is because she was treated badly by Earl, so now she thinks that all men simply view her body as a tool for their shady desires. Elle tells Selena that she can understand how she feels, but she needs to trust Volts, because he is a good man. Selena asks Elle why her master hasn't taken off her collar if that is the case. That's when the princess slave says that Volts had offered to do it, but she chose to keep the collar on to remind herself of the betrayal she had to face. Basically, even though she is living a happy life with Volts, Elle does not want to forget the anger he has built due to the way her own family and friends abandoned her. Selena gets it and says sorry for asking something out of place, but she still has her doubts. It's at this moment when Havalik asks Elle if she's coming to see Volts, so she says yes. Now, she turns back to Selena to ask if she would like to live with her in Volts, but the slave girl is not there anymore. Elle wonders where Selena has gone, and we can see the slave girl running away from the scene. She asks Elle to forgive her, but no matter how she thinks about it, she is just too scared to be around men. However, a black shadow suddenly appears from under the ground and traps Selena as we also see Earl's butler approaching her from behind. He grabs her from behind and holds a knife to her neck to make sure she doesn't scream. He then orders Selena to keep walking as his master is waiting for her. Soon enough, Selena is made to regret her own foolish actions as she is brought in front of the evil noble, Earl. He smiles in the most menacing way possible and even refers to Selena as his cute slave. But there is nothing cute about this situation, as can be seen by the look on her face. Now, we shift to Volts, who is being requested by the slave trader to escort him on a journey. He says that he wants to take a large sum of money to another city, and he needs protection from goons and robbers. There's no better option than an S-rank adventurer like Volts, but he wants to know where all this money has come from. The slave trader explains that it's the money he made yesterday from selling Elle to him, but he makes a mistake by referring to her as a slave woman. This angers our hero, so he smashes the slave trader's face to the wall and refuses the mission because no one can call Elle a slave girl around him. He goes on to scold the slave trader and says that it's people like him who make girls like Elle and Selena slaves in the first place. They simply strip the girls of all their happiness and force them to live sad lives. Volts is so triggered right now that he wishes to rip the slave trader into shreds, but he chooses not to do this because it will happen to him one way or another. After all, there are lots of nobles who hate slave traders, and there are also general fools who are after the money that comes with the job. Our hero puts on a scary face as he says this, and he succeeds in creeping out the slave trader. However, before he can torture him some more, Elle, Jess, and Havalik come to the scene, so he wonders what's going on. That's when he learns it's got to do with Selena running away. Now, we see Earl telling the slave girl that she came running back to him even if he did not win the bid. But we all know that's just a big fat lie. The evil noble says that Selena is very important to him and he only wants her in his life. Selena wonders what this could mean, but it's not anything nice, as Earl says he wants to harm her in ways that she has never imagined. At the same time, he wants to make sure he doesn't break her because she is the best of his toys. Now, Earl says that he wants to make sure Selena doesn't run away from him again, so he decides to break her leg. Of course, she struggles to break free from the evil noble, but he gets excited just thinking about how she's going to react when he starts hurting her again. Selena realizes that she really was a fool to run away from Volts, especially after all that Elle did to make sure she found a safe home. She cries out for help, but before she can even complete the sentence, help has already arrived. Selena can hear someone asking Earl to step away from her, and it's none other than her new master, Volts. He asks his slave girl if she is all right, and he apologizes for letting her feel scared even after she became his possession. Selena figures that he is the same man who was sitting next to Elle in the auction, and she calls out his name with respect. Volts orders Earl never to come near Selena again, but the evil noble has too big an ego to let this go. He tries to act brave in front of our hero, but eventually calls out to his butler, whose name is revealed to be Lubit. Earl can't find his butler, so he tells Volts that he is the heir to the House of Layforth, so he can't lay a hand on him, otherwise he will come to regret it. Volts simply calls him out for misusing the position his parents have built for him in order to harm slave girls. Earl doesn't have any kind of shame as he says that he can do whatever he wants with these slave girls as they are his things. The evil noble continues to say that slaves are just toys which he can play with or even kick till they break. He takes it a bit too far by saying he can do anything he wants to them and it will still be fine. Of course, our hero is not just going to stand there and listen to this nonsense, so he decides to smash Earl's face with a punch. This is all it takes to send the evil noble flying away. And then Volts angrily states that slaves are not things or toys. He calls Earl a third-class nobleman and says that he treats slaves as people, which is how they should be treated. Earl has a messed up face now thanks to the punch, and we can see a shadow forming under him. It's Lubit, who has finally come to the scene, so Earl orders him to attack our hero. Volts can see that the butler has the power of shadow manipulation, but he can also sense that Lubit is not here to take revenge on behalf of his master. The shadow butler says that his master is most definitely done for, so there's no point in trying to protect him. He also says that his true master, who is Earl's father, has already decided the punishment for his shameless son, which is why the butler was not here for a while. He announces that the heir to the empire will now be the second son, and not Earl, so he says that his father can't do this to him. The evil noble tries to call out to Lubit, but he simply says that Earl has spent too much time playing with his slave girls. With that, the shadow butler picks up Earl and walks away after apologizing to Volts for the trouble they have caused. Earl doesn't want things to end this way, but that's just how things are, and he is now abandoned as a noble. Now, Volts shifts his attention to Selena, who wants to say sorry to him for doubting his intentions, but he apologizes instead. After all, Volts should have taken Earl's obsession into account and expected this kind of behavior in advance. Anyway, he promises to protect Selena from anything that may happen to her from this point forward. The slave girl begins to cry and she also says sorry for running away at first. Selena thanks her new master for saving her life and then Elle rushes to her for comfort. The slave girl says sorry to the prince's slave as well, but Elle says that all is well as long as nothing happened to her. With all the drama finally over, Volts and his girls decide to go back home and relax. Now, we shift to our hero's home where both Elle and Selena go to the bathroom for some relaxation. Elle asks the new slave girl if her wound still hurt, but she says that it's just a little bothersome, so she should be fine. Now, Elle tries to wash Selena's wounds, but she acts shy because she feels her body is not as curvy as hers. The princess slave is amazed to hear such a thing, so she decides to act on some of her intrusive thoughts with Selena. After a shady session, Selena tells Elle that she should know she doesn't have much experience. The princess slave agrees, but she also knows that Selena has a lot of knowledge about such things. She goes on to ask the new slave girl what she thinks of Volts. So she says that she's still afraid of men, but it's different with our hero. Not only is he strong and reliable, but also gentle and kind, so it looks like even Selena seems to like him. Elle asks her if Volts scared her at first with his demeanor, but the slave girl tells her friend that it would become a problem if she ended up liking her master as well. Elle simply says that she would not have any issue with this at all, and it prompts Selena to comment that the princess slave has changed the way she thinks. The princess slave goes on to say the most important thing right now is to cure Selena's fear of men. She also asks her friend if she still has the shady desire which she had told her about earlier. Selena tries to act innocent at first, but then we learn that she likes the smell of men. Selena panics and tries to say that she's not like that anymore, but Elle explains that shady desires such as these don't just disappear randomly. She then tells Selena that she would most definitely get excited if she were to smell a man and a woman doing unspeakable things to each other. The new slave girl gets interested because it's got to do with both a man and a woman. This is when she realizes what Elle is trying to say, so she refuses to be a part of the plan. Elle maintains that Selena should check it out, no matter how many times she says no. Now, we move to our hero's bedroom where Elle is hiding Selena in the cupboard. She says this will be for her own good, but Selena feels that watching her best friend do shady things with her master is not the resolution she needs. Even so, Elle says that she and Volts are going to act on their intrusive thoughts soon, so Selena should be prepared. Basically, if Selena still feels desire after smelling these acts, then her shady intentions have not disappeared yet. With that, Elle shuts the doors and Selena wonders why the princess slave is being so shady, even though she is mostly right about her desires. Now, our hero walks into the room, with no idea of how things are going to unfold for him. He sees Elle sitting right in front of him and she says that she wants to act on her intrusive thoughts with him. As a matter of fact, she wants him to treat her like a proper slave girl, which means he is free to do as he pleases with her. Volt sits down next to the princess slave and asks her what she will do if Selena wakes up. She simply says that Selena is a heavy sleeper, so there will be no issues over there. Of course, this is just a lie, as can be seen in the way Selena is reacting to all of this. Now, Elle goes on to say that it would not make a difference even if Selena were to get up in the middle of their session. As a matter of fact, she is actually looking forward to the time when she and Volts can get freaky with the new slave girl as well. As expected, this comes as a huge shock to Selena. And even our hero says that he needs to consider her feelings before trying something so extreme with her. Elle tries to explain her situation to her master, so she states that she and Selena had made a promise to each other back when they were slaves to be auctioned off. Volts is interested in knowing what this is, so his princess slave takes us all to a flashback. We see Elle and Selena chatting with each other, and the princess slave tells her friend that she will definitely marry the first man she gives her flower to. Of course, Selena thinks that this is just a dream for slave girls like them, so she promises to do the same thing and marry the man who pops her cherry. Now, we are back to the present where Elle explains that as close friends, it is better for them to fall in love with the same man. After all, it only means that both Selena and Elle will be together all the time, and this makes Selena emotional because she's glad that her friend has remembered their promise. However, she is still not going to forgive Elle for putting her in this position because it's still quite awkward. The princess slave wants to continue talking, but Volts has realized that he needs to give her a taste of dominance. He asks her to close her eyes, so she does as she's told like a good girl. Then, he proceeds to tie her up, presumably acting on the advice that Sana had given him back at the camp. He also adds a blindfold to his slave girl's eyes, which means that she can leave it all up to her imagination now. Elle soon realizes what's going on, so she asks her master if he wants to roleplay with her. Things become spicy and our hero can see that his princess slave is getting excited due to this. He proceeds to whisper in her ear that she might not know who's doing these shady things to her, but she's still having a good time. The session is over and Volts takes Elle's blindfold off, so she says that she had felt scared but also thrilled during the session. Our hero says sorry for his actions, but Elle says that she enjoyed what he did to her. Our hero doesn't feel like moving today, so Elle has to do most of the work this time, so she listens to her master's commands. They get freaky and even Selena can't help herself anymore, so she gives in to her shady desires. Both Elle and Selena finish with ease and then Volts tells his princess slave that they should go to the bathroom for round 2. She agrees to it, but asks her master to go first, because she wants to have a word with Selena. After a brief moment of I told you so, Elle goes to finish up with Volts and Selena finishes up with herself. The next morning, we see Selena with a bright smile on her face as she does the laundry and takes out the clothes for drying. On her way, she bumps into Volts who says good morning and thanks her for helping out with the chores. Of course, the slave girl is still shy, so she simply runs away from her master while awkwardly wishing him as well. Our hero doesn't know how to react to this, but he also realizes that he should not get in the way of Selena's recovery, so he lets it be for now. Later, Volts and Elle enjoy some romantic time with each other, but Selena can't stop thinking about how happy and cute they are around each other. She wonders if she is being a nuisance to them both, but then Elle asks her to come closer to her and Volts in order to have a chat. Selena says she's fine watching them from a distance because she still hasn't overcome her fear of men. This makes Elle upset, but she can't force her friend to act differently. Now, Volts has to step out, so his princess slave asks him where he's going. Our hero says that he has an escort mission, so he asks Elle to take care of the house while he's out. With that, he shuts the door and leaves the house, so Elle calls Selena to come have a chat. She asks her if she still has her fear of men, and unfortunately, Selena says yes even though Volts is a nice master. It's frustrating for her because she wants to get closer to our hero, so she wonders for much longer this fear is going to remain. Elle wants to explain something to Selena, but before that happens, someone is heard knocking on the door. The princess slave opens it to see who it might be, and it turns out to be Jess. She tells the demon man that her master has just gone out on a quest, but he says that he has something to talk about with the two slave girls. This is a bit surprising for Elle, but Jess is a trusted friend, so she lets him come inside and offers some hot coffee to him. Selena and Elle ask the demon man what this is all about, so he says that he wants to tell them why Volts became an S-rank adventurer. It is only fair since both the slave girls are living with our hero, and even Elle is eager to know the reason for her master's actions. Jess realizes he should speak fast, so he reveals that Volts has a very different truth to his past. As a matter of fact, he used to hate slaves and girls for the longest time. This comes as a shock to the slave girls, so they ask why this is the case. That's when Jess explains that Volts was once betrayed by the slave who was his first love. It's time for some context, so Jess narrates a story about this love affair. This slave was a girl who was working for the royal family, and she got along well with our hero. Volts had fallen in love with her and wanted to make the maid girl his wife, but before he could reveal his true feelings for her, she disappeared without a trace. This broke his heart to the point where he started to train like a deadly beast all the time. He basically wanted to be suitable for the maid girl the next time they'd meet, so he made sure to become so overpowered that no one would be able to beat him. This training bore a lot of fruit as our hero ended up becoming an adventurer right when he turned 18 years old. Time passed by, and one fine day, he finally got to meet her again as an adult. They ended up joining forces and even registered as a party with the guild so that they could go on adventures together. This was the perfect chance for Volts to propose to the maid girl, but he just never had the courage to follow through. He lamented his situation, and things went on this way till one day he came across a quest to conquer an abandoned castle that has become a dead zone. The maid girl was not sure of this because neither her nor Volts had a very high rank at the time. However, our hero was confident in his abilities and had decided to confess his feelings towards the maid girl once they conquered the castle. They formed a team with some other members and invaded the castle with all their might. It was a ruthless battle ahead for them, but they managed to get through all the monsters living inside the castle, mostly thanks to Volts and his amazing powers. Our hero was congratulated by his team for pulling off the quest on his own, and they suggested to go back for reporting once it stopped raining. Things seemed fine till then, but suddenly, Volts sensed more demons and monsters gathering around the castle. He took in the view from the top of the towers and wondered why this was the case, but then a mysterious person approached him from behind and pushed him off the tower. Our hero managed to get a glimpse of who did this to him, and it was none other than the maid girl. He could not believe his eyes, but the maid girl simply said that she was following orders, and that too, without any regret in her eyes. Volts fell to the ground and had hundreds of demons in front of him, so he never really stood a chance. He wasn't even an S-rank hero at the time, so he realized that the maid girl was nothing more than a slave. He lamented the fact that he fell in love with someone else's puppet and got betrayed because of it. Luckily, he was rescued by someone and treated for his injuries, as can be seen in his condition the next day. Of course, Volts declared that he would never believe in anyone anymore, but the man who saved him said that it would be more manly to trust and be betrayed rather than not trust at all. This man was the Sword King of the area, and he protected a village surrounded by tons of monsters. Volts helped him with his tasks, but was still no match for the Sword King's powers. Our hero then trained with the Sword King and became more mature as he spent more time with him. His behavior would lead him to be treated as a hero by all the folks at the village, and he realized that he would always protect the village regardless of whether he would get betrayed. After all, he built a very strong relation with these people, as they would happily feed him for all his efforts, even though the Sword King was the main hero saving everyone from harm. So, no matter what his personal state might be, he would gladly risk his life to help those in need. Now that we know our hero's background story, how is it going to change the way his slave girls look at him? Will Elle and Selena reward their master with a treat tonight? And why is Jess revealing such a secret right now? Like, share, and subscribe if you liked this video. Hit the bell icon to get notified when I upload part 2. See you soon.